Hi, everybody. My name is Nina Chase. I am a landscape architect, urban designer. I design outdoor public spaces in cities, parks, plazas, streets, and now riverfronts with River Life. And I've been designing public spaces in the U.S. and have been noticing an interesting, exciting shift that's been happening in the world of landscape architecture recently. Cities now are capitalizing on the idea of temporary fun. Pop-up parks, inflatable art, parklets, they're popping up around the globe. Designers, activists, even developers, they've taken to the streets quite literally to test new ways of thinking about public space in cities. So tonight I wanted to brainstorm with you ways that we can prototype here in our city. So these short-term experimental spaces, they've been implemented under this umbrella of prototyping, and they're framing the process of urban design as participatory, playful, and chock full of experimentation. And there are a few reasons that this has led to a rise in prototyping. There's been the advent of placemaking, there's been more digital production, and citizens are a little bit frustrated with planning processes. So it's exciting because designers also love prototyping. We see this as a way that we can bring a one-to-one scale model to life. We all love models, so here we are bringing them to life. They're interactive. They invite stakeholders to connect with a future investment. And what we're doing is really showing citizens what they're buying before they write the final check. And because of this, the tenets of prototyping, this idea of quicker, lighter, cheaper, they haven't been limited to just temporary solutions. And cities have been kind of resolving some bigger issues by using prototyping to inspire longer-term change. This image is from Raleigh, North Carolina, where they had a guerrilla signage campaign, and that's inspired a pedestrian plan in the city. This is in San Francisco. Parking Day, which we all know and love, has inspired a whole brood of parklets that have been put outside of restaurants and cafes that are more permanent. So this is invested into long-term change in cities. The next slide is in New York City. Times Square has experienced a pedestrianized transformation that began with just the simple lawn chair in 2009. Jeanette Sadiq-Khan, the city's former transportation commissioner, she really wielded pilot testing as her secret weapon. And she said recently, instead of arguing and debating, try something first and give people something to experience. And these efforts have led to the transformation of streets in New York City, over 400 miles of city streets, bike lanes, safer pedestrian crossings, narrowed vehicular lanes. And these complete streets have really raised the bar for urban streets all across the country and led to longer-term change in cities. So pop-up prototyping, as we've seen, has generated a lot of buzz. I'm sure you've read about it. You can't scroll through an article without hearing about pop-up parks. And as cities like Pittsburgh, as we continue to search for solutions to urban design issues, I can't help but think that there might be an application for prototyping that could help build support for longer-term issues that are more environmental or maybe more social pressures that we're feeling. Citizens and municipalities often have difficulty finding common ground on large-scale issues such as flooding here in New York City during Sandy, affordable housing, public health. And I like to think that prototyping's can-do, kind of optimistic approach has the potential to really galvanize support around long-term ideas that are hard to grapple with. It also matters because a lot of these issues, especially flooding, which is near and dear to my heart, occurs at a scale of multiple cities or whole regions where you don't have one single entity who can control decision-making processes. So pilot projects that embody this kind of test before you invest mantra, we could help synthesize collective visions towards a collective future and all be part of the process as we do it. So the next image you'll see is a rendering that I did, and it kind of alludes to the fact that designers like myself, I don't know if it's going. Are we frozen? Oh, there we go. Designers like myself, we've painted these kind of sunny, optimistic, wonderful visions of what will happen when sea levels rise or rain increases. But when you ask the average person what a resilient coast is or what it means to invest in green infrastructure, they kind of glaze over and they have no idea what you're talking about. So what I think is exciting is that designers and communicators, we can use prototyping to really build momentum towards these bigger ideas and these visionary plans. This is in New York City by BIG, the big U. And we can make our cities really safer and greener and more fun. And we can use prototyping to be kind of a proof of concept to showcase and test options for our future. With respect to flooding, prototyping can really help synthesize visions towards multifunctional futures. So stormwater, education, play, we can experiment with these ideas. And this is actually the tactical resilience work that's being done in Norfolk, Virginia on the left and here in the Gowanus Canal, looking at how small-scale stormwater management interventions can get people thinking about stormwater in an interesting way. This is Box Park in London, and this is a great example of how we can kind of think about integrating new industry into cities, like maybe here in Pittsburgh. You can experiment with new land use models that kind of bring new mixes together. And this is an outdoor shopping district, but the idea of kind of experimenting with new ideas in built form. This is actually here in Pittsburgh. This is the aquaponics project. You may have seen it down at the Gateway T-Stop. It's just being put out, and it's pilot testing urban aquaponics in the city in a traffic square. And so I'm excited because I think similarly cost-effective industrial prototypes can help bring about thinking about 21st century industries in the city. Public health, also another big issue. This is a few images from Kaboom, the national nonprofit that promotes play. They just announced their Play Everywhere Challenge winners. My project, Kid of Parks, which is up at the top, was one of the 50 winning prototypes. And they're kind of proving that play and active living they don't have to be the exclusive domain of playgrounds. They can be anywhere. So hopefully I proved to you that as a planning and design tool, prototyping can generate short-term action around this long-term change. But I will caution that it doesn't absolve us at the helm of city planning and design from really committing to the rigor and political process and public investment that is also needed. Prototyping, to me, is really a means to an end. It's a phase in the process towards greater accessibility of ideas, decision-making, and ultimately equitable, vibrant cities, which we all want. So where traditional planning approaches, which are often pretty opaque and abstract, where they fail to ignite public passions, prototyping can really add that dose of whimsy and accessibility and imagination. We can all, as designers, as city officials and community members, engage with prototypes. We can create a dialogue around what's working, what's not. And so by harnessing the power of the prototype, we can show, not just tell, what's possible for our city's future. There we go. Thank you.